when I went to our CanSCHOOL department before this, and I asked them, if we have 5 minutes to teach something to an audience like this, what should that be? And we came up with, they need to learn about Bloom's taxonomy. Why? Nobody in this room is a professional educator. Yet, we're all responsible for training large quantities of people that come through our can-making facilities. So Bloom's taxonomy is a way to describe how people learn. We all start at the very bottom when we start learning something, and eventually we'll make it up to the very top. What I'd like to do is use a real-life example. I know that most people in this room speak multiple languages. About 10 years ago, I learned Spanish, and I very specifically remember the process of beginning to learn. I made a bunch of flashcards, and on one side there was the word in Spanish, and on the other side, the word in English. What this did is it took me through 1 and 2, and I remembered the word, and I understood exactly what it meant. Next step is to apply it. So let's use that word in a sentence. After that, it was analyzing. And in terms of language, it is conjugating words. So, for example, yesterday I ran, today I run. Once we've gotten that, it's to evaluate. So now you can read a sentence, for example, and you can identify whether the word is used correctly in that sentence, and eventually it is to create new language. And with language, it's becoming fluent, it's being able to use that word freely. So I came today specifically trying to teach at the level 1 and 2 to remember that Bloom's taxonomy exists, and for you to leave this understanding what it is. It's the way that we describe how people learn. But let's, for example, assume that I came in here, or imagine that I came in here and I started with this. And instead of starting with the basics, I were to ask you to evaluate this chart right here and tell me what's wrong with it. I imagine that most of you in this room would have had no idea what I was talking about. You would have thought, perhaps this presentation is not for you, or that you're not going to learn anything from here. Well, this is exactly what we do as can makers when we take a brand new employee and put them in an introduction to can making course, and we insist on talking about things like defects. When we take advanced topics and try to teach them to beginning learners, the learner thinks that we, the educators, are looking at them like this. And in terms of education, this is described as friction. And so friction can come in one of 2 ways. First, it will either make somebody feel stupid, like they don't belong there. Or second, it will start to break trust. And trust is important in education. Trust starts all the way at the beginning of the recruiting process. We trust that the recruiter is telling us the truth, that they will teach us how to become can makers. And then when we hire them at HR, we continue building that trust, and we say, yes, we will give you the proper training. And in that training session, if this is how we start, that trust is broken. So when an employee is trained poorly, the cost of a can goes up. And this can happen one of 2 ways. Either the brand new employee is going to quit, and that's a huge wasted opportunity. We have to begin recruiting again, and hiring again, and training once again. Or perhaps even worse, they stay and they quietly quit, which means that they're there for that paycheck, but they're not engaged at becoming a better can maker. So this is exactly how spoilage rates go up and efficiencies go down.